Good morning and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 213. Today is the Marco Show. We have 3 questions from a gentleman named Marco, and he managed to ask in 1 minute 3 rather intricate and fun and involved questions about League of Legends training. So we're going to dive into all 3 of those today. And I don't really have any other announcements. I've been reading Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. I randomly woke up at 2:40 in the morning this morning and have been up since then. I got to fresh and clean shave. And Casey Neistat is hiring gaming coordinators, which is kind of cool, for his 368 project. So check that out if you haven't seen his vlog yet. Let me adjust the camera. Other than that, nothing new to announce or talk about, so let's go ahead and jump into the show. Oh, my logo broke. All right, whatever. Hey, guys. Question number 1.
Hi, Weldon. My name is Marco, and my question is kind of about improving while playing a lot and trying to learn as much as possible. So, first off, I am playing a bit too much, and I was wondering kind of how you can keep a good attitude when it can kind of feel like a grind, when you're going to have bad days and all that, and how you recommend kind of keeping a good mentality so you can still absorb information and still improve. My second question.
All right, so we're going to jump into the first question here. How, when it's feeling like a grind, you keep a good mentality, good attitude, and keep challenging yourself to improve. So this is about mindset, right? And it's really important to get squared away on why you're playing. And a lot of times you got to think really long term in order to get a good mindset and attitude. You can't think short term, or else you get lost in the winning and losing streaks and all the little nonsense that kind of pulls you down. So it's really important as you're losing your 10th game in a row to think about like, why am I playing in the first place? What is the long-term implications here? Am I striving to get better? In which case, this is part of my improvement. Am I playing for fun? In which case, how can I make sure I'm still having fun when I'm losing? Think about the reasons behind your queuing up. And then it's also important to practice 3 skills. That is, to your focus on the present moment. So anytime you find yourself focusing on the past or the future, drag your mind back to the present. Focus on the game. Focus on the now. Don't focus on the mistake 3 seconds ago that you made in lane. Don't focus on whether or not you're going to win or lose this game or what this person's going to say now that you inted it. Just mute your teammate if you can't handle it, or ignore them if you can, and focus on you and what you're doing right now. And then focus on the task and not the outcome. So focus on the task of escapism, or the task of refinement and improvement, or the task of enjoying the company of your friends, or whatever it is that you're doing, and don't focus on the outcome of whatever it is. That's very temporal, right? What does the outcome even matter in the grand context of our lives? And then focus on being non-judgmental. Don't be judgmental of yourself or other people, and keep a non-judgmental as opposed to judgmental mindset. And if you're able to do those things and practice them, those are the skills you need in the present moment, and you layer that on with really simple gratefulness conditioning, where in the morning, maybe before your games, you just think of a few things you're grateful for, maybe write them down, then it's pretty, and you can use that, by the way, for a reset switch also when you're playing and you notice you kind of have a bad attitude kicking out, then I think it's pretty easy to keep a healthy mentality. You might accidentally curtail your ambition, and you might realize that you're not striving to be the best, and you might realize that you're okay with that and accept it and kind of like settle down to a current level and just enjoy the game again. But I don't think that that's necessarily a bad outcome. All right, second part of the question.
Question would be, what would you recommend for learning skills that don't necessarily have guides? For instance, when to group versus when to split as a top laner, or there's a bit on jungle tracking, but it still doesn't really feel like there's actual concrete information to get you to learn all that. And my last.
All right. So how do you learn when you don't have guides? I would say, and I would argue actually, that this is that there's not even very many good guides in League of Legends in the first place. So it's not like how do I learn when I don't have guides? It's more like, how do I learn, period? And the fact that there's a few guides out there that might be accurate or useful is a bonus point, okay? And the answer is the mirror and the model and flow state. Okay, you need two things, the mirror and the model, and you need flow state. So flow state being a very natural and conducive state to self-learning, autodidactic learning. And, well, okay, that's kind of repetitive because didact is learning. But anyway, starting with the model and the mirror, it's really important to be able to see your own play. So you need to be able to watch your own VODs and find and evaluate yourself. You need to be able to do evaluation for the sake of improvement. And in order to do that, you need to be able to see your own mistakes and kind of what is going wrong. And sometimes you're going to need a coach to do that because you're not going to be able to pick out errors until you become aware of them. So you hire a coach. They tell you, if they watch a few VODs with you, they tell you a few things. You don't need to hire them again because now you see them. And the next time you watch your own VODs, you can see the things that you never saw before. So that's one way of stepping up your mirror. And then you need the model, which is you look at people who are better than you and you question in a very philosophical way, why did they make this decision? Why did they make this decision? Why did they make this decision? You don't look at just blindly watch them, right, for entertainment purposes. You turn off all the sound and you just look at their pathing and their decision making, and you question and query and philosophically analyze their gameplay, and you say, why did they go here instead of there? Why did they walk this path instead of that path? Why did they not fight here? Why did they choose to fight here? And you start to understand kind of the steps between where you are and where you need to be. And it's really good to watch people who are kind of slightly better than you, right? Who are maybe not the gods of the game, but the people who are one stage above where you want to be, so that you can kind of see where your deficit and what you could do simply in the next few steps to improve, because there's so much information, there's so many different ways of tackling that. And then you need flow state, right? You need this non-judgmental, present-focused state of learning where you are very critical of yourself in a task-focused kind of way, not on the outcome, but on your own mastery, right? You have a mastery mindset where you're trying to be better than you were from the morning. And I would say that in this flow state, you can hone it and you can focus it by giving yourself very specific, refined goals. So, minimizing the amount of things that you're training in a game, reviewing them before every game to keep your mind fresh on them, reviewing them after every game to see how you did and evaluating them. Putting a model in your mind of like how you want to play out this game, and then going and looking at the mirror afterwards. Again, the model in the mirror of how you did. But if you get into this flow state where you're able to start seeing your mistakes naturally, and you're just kind of playing and improving, then ride with it. Take it all the way, and let the autodidactic learning take over. Just let your mind learn. And the final question. Oh, before we jump into the final question, please make sure to check out the MAC program. The MAC program is my training program that I use to support everything to do with the Mind Games brand. You can check it out at mindgames.gg/MAC. It's basically you log in, you buy it, and then you log in. There's 47 videos online, organized 7 videos per module, 7 modules. So over 7 weeks, essentially, you complete the program. And every single program is a lecture and a meditation, seated meditation. So it's about mindfulness, which is present state awareness and focus, step of learning what it is that drives you and what triggers you. Acceptance, meaning that you kind of understand and accept those emotional states and internal states. And then commitment, being the discipline that then comes after that to do the things that you need to do, such as focus. And so it has a lot to do with emotional regulation and performance on stage. And it is my attempt at spreading to the masses the thing that I do, which isn't necessarily affordable by everybody, but my attempt with this show and also this program is to make it so that everybody can get the sports psychology experience in their endeavors, whether it be through esport or through some other performance vector, traditional sport, academic studies, etc., public speaking, whatever it may be. So make sure to check that out. Use the code AskWeldon. By the way, when you get there for the $5 discount, I use that code in order to know how many people come from YouTube and Twitch and how many people come from the podcast, mainly. So make sure to use the code AskWeldon. Thanks for that. And let's jump into the last question. Oops, that's question number 2. There we go.
stuff is just I feel overwhelmed with information. Like, should I shove lane so they're pressured on a turret? Should I hold it so that they lose XP? I'm really struggling with these decisions. Thanks a lot.
All right. So the last question is quite simple, and it revolves around the idea of there's so much information, what is the next thing that I do? And here the whole I+1 advice from the last question actually comes back into play. So you might want to consider looking at streamers or players who are one stage above where you are instead of looking at pros, where there's a ton of things that you're not doing and that you're not doing optimized, but there's only a few things that are going to get you to the directly next level. And it could be that, let's say you learn some skills that are very useful that you need to be master tier or challenger tier, which are the top 2 tiers in League of Legends, but those things will not actually get you from gold into platinum, which is like, levels level 4 to level 3 or whatever. So yeah, you could have a bunch of useless skills that are not going to actually help you improve at all in terms of your ranking, but are still necessary skills for like a pro at the top level. So that I+1, it's really important to understand like what is the next stage of your deficit that is holding you back from being higher in ranking than you are, versus what are some of the other recipe ingredients in the pie. I know I need to bake a whole pie here, but like you need to know what the next recipe you put in is. Maybe making cookies will make sense. You have all the ingredients, right? And I run into a lot of people who are making cookies for the first time, or I did when I was in my 20s, who had never made cookies with their parents, And so this was like after college or in college sometimes. And they would get all the ingredients, and they just kind of like put them all in a bowl. Well, that doesn't work. Funnily enough, baking is a science, not an art. And so I think cooking is an art. Like I think that you can cook and you can just kind of sense your way through it. And I think baking is very much a science. And of course, you can get artistic about it at some point when you have enough knowledge. But it's much later in the process than baking is. You need a lot than cooking is. You need a lot more knowledge. So for baking, there's a very strict protocol for what is the next thing you need to mix together. And if you don't mix it together in that way, then the thing that comes out at the end is not going to be what you expect, what you hope, what you predict. It's not going to be the top level of cookie. It's going to be like a gold 5 cookie. And you don't want a gold 5 cookie, so mix your ingredients correctly. Learn what the next stage of the game is that you need to learn. And to do that, look at people who are better than you, but not the best, but who are better than you, and see they have all of these deficits, and they do all these things wrong, and you're like, oh, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong, but they're higher ranked than you because they're doing one thing right that you aren't. What is that one thing? So this gets into the game theory of MOBAs, right? You need to kind of think of yourself as a philosopher and look at the decisions they're making and say, well, they're just doing this very simple thing, which is being in the right place at the right time. So I need to focus a lot more on being at the right place on the map at the right time, more so than managing my ways perfectly. And maybe managing my ways perfectly will help me optimize from diamond to challenger, or from low diamond to high diamond. But it's irrelevant right now because I'm not even at the team fight when it occurs, or I'm showing up at the wrong wave and the other team is getting an outnumbered battle, that they can instantly engage on. So kind of those basic principles of what it is you need to do next is the thing that you have to discover. And best of luck. Make sure to check out the show on Twitch every single day, 6:30 p.m., twitch.tv/MindGamesWeldon. You can check it out live. You can ask questions before and after. And make sure to check out the Mac program, mindgames.gg/MAC. Use the code AskWeldon. I'll see you all in Twitch chat in a second.